What's it like?
What's what like?
Screwing a psycho.
Norman, this is your mother. Norman, can you hear me?
22 years later, Norman Bates is home. Psycho 2.
It's starting again.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Sequel. This is the movie podcast where we're talking sequels, and we do it in two parts, typically. But with the writer's strike, thank God that's over. Now we just need the actors to come back, and then me and Jamie, I can put Jamie back to work and get a lot of interviews on the books. So again, we're kicking off our scary sequel month, which is like the fourth one that we've done, which is insanity. And this one, we're kicking off with a movie that me and Jamie, right when the strike happened for both of them, we were texting back and forth of like potential ones, and he threw this one in there, and then it just like sat in the back of my head. So when I was thinking about what would be a like kind of like a different sequel I've never seen, Psycho 2. And wow, before we talk about Norman and who's his mom and all the other and Dennis Franz, I got to introduce you to my partner in this sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi. Jamie, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, Doug. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great because I think I'm trying to think of another one we watched this year. I don't know if it was this year or last year, that it was a movie that I've never seen before. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. Oh no, I'm thinking of like not saying it was the greatest movie, but like the Dragon movie, Blood Fist 5. Like it was like so kind of like when you're watching, you're like, is this the most clever written movie ever?
Whoa,
and dude,
wait, hold on. I mean,
tell me.
You're comparing this movie now, and I'm not saying the type of movie, but like putting it on the first of all, and again, this is out of character, but I thought this was a very good sequel.
Oh,
very good movie. So the fact that you put in this, comparing it to Blood Fist 5, I mean, yes, I know
maybe that was a bad comparison.
It was a bad comparison. Yes. Okay. Yes, I get the
bad
trickery.
Comparison, but it was, to me, it was like more like surprising. This is a really good movie compared to the other one, but I was like very surprised at how good it was, how like well it was shot, and like just the story and the people that are in it.
Yeah. So yeah, I like this movie. I think it's very good quality of a follow up to a classic movie. You know, you take the original Psycho, which I did watch again right before I watched this. You know, I just wanted to throw, and it still holds up. It's amazing how it was shot, how Hitchcock did everything, and I'm like, how are they going to follow up this classic? And I think Psycho 2 does a very good job of following it up. I do think it's definitely one of the top horror movie sequels. With that being said, there's a lot of silliness to this movie that is so ridiculous. But I think Norman Bates, the character, does such a great job in this movie. The twist, like I would say the ending, I think it was fantastic.
Oh my God, yeah.
And because it's weird. It's like, it's not really a twist, but it's such a good ending for, again, I guess, to lead to another one. But yeah, I mean, but there's definitely a lot of questions in this movie. I mean, a lot of stupid things, but it was a good movie. It was a really good movie.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of twists along the way. And I know the end was I guess it was eventually expected if you guessed, but I was still like kind of shocked. So we'll get to that.
Well, I'm not even talking about the end. I'm talking about just like the resolution between him and the other characters. I thought it was such a good way they did it. You know, in such a again, we'll get there, but yeah, that was good. And I know you mentioned Dennis Franz, who looked like he was portraying Ron Jeremy in this movie.
Oh my God, yeah.
I feel like he was Ron Jeremy. Like, if he had to look up a character study of like, all right, how am I going to play this character? He just basically channeled Ron Jeremy, because there might have been the sleaziest character we've seen in a long time.
Oh no. Oh, I'm back. No, the thing that was pretty funny about it was when he was like just yelling about running the business. When he's like, "Hey, you know what I do? You know what I do, Bates? I run a good hotel." Yeah, and he's just yelling at him and talks about like, yeah, some people come here, adults, they rent it for an hour or two, do what they got to do. I'm like, Just do it in your car.
He was like a Ron Jeremy / Louis De Palma. Like the type of character he was. Like I could see Danny DeVito playing that role perfectly. I mean, just that's how it was. I mean, but you know, I mean, I have major issues with kind of the beginning of the movie, and you know, I mean, once he leaves where he is, I have major issues. But we'll get there.
Yeah, we will. The last thing about Dennis Franz, I didn't watch NYPD Blue, but was he crotchety like it on there?
I think he was.
It reminded me of Die Hard 2. Remember how crotchety it was? That it was Christmas.
Yeah.
That's
I think
exactly what he is in this role.
I didn't see that either, the show either, but I think the role he plays in, I would think the role he plays in Die Hard is probably how he did NYPD Blue, and frankly. This seems to be a trend because he probably does that. That's probably the character he just plays in every movie.
Yeah, I know.
He does it so well. I mean, you know.
Oh no, dude, you need a crotchety guy. He's the one to call. He's like the first on the call sheet.
You imagine though, like you know, when you talk to him, like if he does interviews, he sounds very distinguished. He's very because he plays the crotchety, sleazy sleazebag like New Yorker so well that it just it looks natural. It's
too natural, but so what was pretty cool was you got the old Universal logo in the beginning of the movie. Maybe that was like a little homage to Hitchcock. And then one thing I want to ask, because I was kind of when I noticed that there was a Psycho 3 and a 4, I know the 4 is like a prequel, but I was like, this movie must have done well. How well do you think it did?
Wait a second.
The budget was $5 million.
Okay, just because there's multiple sequels doesn't mean it does well.
Well, financially, the one movie has to do well for the next one to get greenlit. Yes.
Are you going to tell me all 9 Sharknadoes did well?
For the budget,
all 3 Mirrors did well.
Well, maybe.
All Terratoons did well.
They must though.
No way.
They must have exceeded their budget. If their budget was for Terratoons, like Joe did that on a cheap thing. So I'm sure if the budget's 10,000, you make 30. You're like, okay, I can do another one.
I also think that, you know what, it's also getting your face out there, and like, you know, people do these stupid, like again, Sharknado. I can't imagine number 7 doing well. I just think, you know what, it does enough to get people, you know, on the camera, get them in front of the screen. I mean, I don't necessarily believe that just because it does well, because you take all the puppet masters, you can tell me they all did well. I don't think
I'm sure they beat their budget, because most of the time, and then I love that you said Sharknado 7 and 9. You're like wishing them to existence, because I think there was only 6. I think we covered the last one. No, didn't we call the last? We covered
that was 6.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. Then you got me wrong. I mean,
number 7's coming.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But no. Anyway, so it's budget $5 million. What do you think this did? You remember it's the 80s.
You know what? I remember the trailer for this back in the 80s. I mean, I was young, but I do remember the trailer. It probably did back in the time 50 million.
Yeah, it did 35, which for a horror sequel, I think the best that a Freddy did, I think, was Dream Master, and I think that was like 30,
really
35 or 40. So like, you got to think on the 30 million profit. Like a studio's gonna be like, oh my god, this is awesome. So we down the road we have to try to cover 3. Maybe we have to get somebody that tried to like worked on that.
Well, you know what,
we probably can get.
Like I'm sure we can get through it. Yeah. I would say we can get through, or even 4. I mean, 4 would be interesting, but I'm not sure if Norman Bates is in 4 since it's a prequel. So
I'm sure he is. I'm sure Norman Bates is, but not.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So Anthony,
prequel,
Which, by the way, I read something interesting that he was married and his wife was on one of the planes in 9/11.
Oh my god!
Isn't that crazy?
That is pretty wild.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you know what? I thought Perkins, he really he did this role where you're actually rooting for him. This guy's a mass murderer. You know, he killed 7 people, and yet you feel bad for him in this movie. And you're kind of rooting for him because he really does seem like he's conflicted. He really does seem like he's got that murderous side that he doesn't know really kind of how it exists, and then he has that sane, timid, likable guy on the other side, and you root for him. He's like one of those bad guys that you really root for.
Yeah, No, totally. Can you name another Anthony Perkins movie? I think he's one of the rare actors that isn't in much at all, that like big movie wise, but you know
Yeah.
his name. It's very rare to have an actor like that. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, that's Anthony Perkins. I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone else like that. That has like
I
one
agree.
hit wonder sort.
And the fact that it's got to be like one of the most famous movies of all time.
Yeah.
And yet he hasn't made anything. Like, that is strange because I mean, he does the role so well, and I wonder why he wasn't bigger in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm sure he was in a ton. I'm sure we looked at his IMDb. He probably has a ton of credits. But I'm saying to be at the forefront of a
I agree.
movie,
I agree.
I couldn't think of another movie with
Yeah,
him. But so let's get into this. So we get your favorite thing about a sequel, especially you got to think 23 years later.
Yeah.
That's a huge gap. And we're getting a little bit of flashback other than the most famous scene in movie history.
Of course.
You know?
And I got to tell you, for 23 years, he looks almost the same. I mean, he looks
he does,
like, like he really does. And, I mean, granted, the relationship between him and Meg Tilly was a little odd,
very weird.
Very weird. I mean, one of the many aspects of the weirdness of the movie. But yeah, I mean, I do like the flashback because, you're talking about a time when, people didn't have the internet to look at these trailers or old scenes of movies. So you're talking about, this movie came out, 83, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the first time people even thought about Psycho in 23 years.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
renting stuff. Well, VHS, 77, 78? So
that's what I mean. So,
and it wasn't
and even
on TV,
then,
maybe rarely.
and even then, they weren't renting Psycho. They were renting like the newest movies they could. So, like, that's why one is probably did well, is because they're like, oh, like we haven't heard about Psycho in 20 years. And I think that's part of it. Like, it's great to see those clips of the old Psycho just to reminisce, for the people that haven't seen it in 23 years.
Yeah, no, 100%. And one thing that was really cool about this, Tom Holland wrote this movie and he's in it. So the director, writer of Fright Night, he did a ton of other movies, but
what did he play?
He plays a deputy at the police station. He usually does that in his movies. He has like a little small role, but yeah, he's only at the police station, but he's great, man. Big horror guy. So it's pretty cool. He wrote it.
I'm surprised they didn't throw a little Hitchcocky thing in there, like like a picture of him or something, like some kind of cameo, even though he didn't direct it, just like a thank you kind of thing. The one thing I did read is they were trying to get Jamie Lee Curtis to play the Meg Tilly part because her mom is the one that was in the shower in the first movie.
I know, and it's funny when you look at her, I'm like, it doesn't look like Jamie, like it doesn't look like her.
Yeah.
I think when she got older, you could see it in the face a little bit more.
Sure.
But that'd have been really cool. And then
cool.
she was like a horror queen.
Yep.
That's all she was doing then. Maybe Trading Places came out in 84, Fish Call Wanda 85, 86. So she's doing all horror before this.
Yeah.
Wow, that'd have been awesome.
That would have been cool. But you know what?
But I don't know if it would have worked as well. She did a great job.
Meg Tilly did a great job. You know what? I'm surprised she's not as big either. I mean, I know she's made a bunch of movies, but obviously her sister was a much bigger name.
Yeah.
So although, it's funny. I feel like Meg Tilly was a better actress. I don't think Jennifer Tilly was really a great actress.
Yeah, well, I think Jennifer Tilly has the voice and the quirkiness and the
well, she has other things.
Bazoomas. I'm gonna be 37 tomorrow, and I just said bazoombas. But that's
now you're showing your age.
But yeah. So what was the one thing that was weird because my wife's going back for her master's, so she's working on the computer. She really enjoyed this movie. She fell asleep.
So did my wife.
She was done. But she really enjoyed watching it.
You know what? My wife and daughter. First of all, my wife and we watched the first Psycho together. Even though she's seen it a long time ago, she did watch it, and then her and my daughter started watching Psycho 2, but they both fell asleep. So I said, you're either going to watch it or you're going to listen to our podcast, and you'll find out what happens.
Nice. So, yeah. No, because that's what I was trying to. She said, "What happened at the end?" And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm trying to explain it. It's like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah. No, they liked it too. So yeah, like I said, they did a very good job for a horror movie. Because I mean, in a way, it's not even horror. It's more suspense, I think, than anything. I mean,
great special effects. So when they do the,
I would say they did step up the gore a little bit in it. Yeah. Yeah. And
you know who did the special effects? I don't even know what else he did, but the name caught my eye, and I wonder if they purposely found this guy. His name was Albert Whitlock. I'm like, okay, that's a little too on the nose, but so one thing I wanted to ask you about. So after we got the kill, when you saw the flashback from the first one, and then the camera panned over, that was a really weird. The way it was like blood, blood. You heard like shouting, and then one thing that was really cool was Jared Goldsmith did the soundtrack. So there's so many things that go in to make this movie great, like great music, a great cast, great direction. Like there's so many shots in this. When you see Norman, even the closing shot or the first time when he gets back home, when he's standing with the house up on the hill, just the way
the house alone is so iconic.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
over the
shot
hotel.
And then you see it in the shadow, and like, it is so iconic. So yeah, I mean, all that stuff is great. I'm curious, does Perkins do the voice of the mom? Or is that so, like, because I mean, like it is a creepy old lady voice, and if he is doing it, he's doing a great job. But I'm just curious. I mean, like, I'm serious. Like, I'm curious if he actually does it, or if they just have a woman.
Know. I don't know. That'd be good.
All right. Well, if there's any psycho experts out there, I'm curious. I'm sure Egan knows.
Sequels only. Yeah. I'm sure he does. But yeah, so then the courtroom scene. Bizarre, because I don't know, does this really happen? Like, if somebody murders 7 people, even if you plead insanity, 20 years, man, that's I know it's a long time, but that's light.
Well, there's a lot of aspects where I feel like the law doesn't do its job well. So, I mean, the fact that, one, there's no monitoring system for this guy after he gets released from prison at all. They just drop him off in the exact same spot where he murdered 7 people, which doesn't seem like the right thing to do, where you're just going to bring up memories of all the good times he had murdering people.
I love that Robert Lozier mentions that, and he's his doctor that got him out and helped him. And he goes, this could really bring back bad memories. I gotta go. He just leaves him.
Not for nothing. Everybody seems way too calm around this guy. Oh, I mean, like, like the fact that Franz, whatever his name is Ron Jeremy, is Dennis Franz, that he's picking a fight with a mass murderer. I know. You have a mom who's literally leaving her daughter at the house of a mass murderer. The daughter is hanging out with like everybody seems like so. If he killed 1 person, I wouldn't want to be around them, let alone 7. Like,
yeah. Now, since you just let the cat out of the bag?
No, not really. No, no one was really taking.
No. so no, let's talk about it now, because I'm sure people have seen this, or hopefully you watch it, because it's totally worth wherever you rented it from, like $2, $3, $4 online. I couldn't find it on YouTube, but Mary. So I was like, no joke, shocked when we found out the connection. Did you think that?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I don't know what I thought. Obviously I thought Anthony Perkins was going crazy again.
Me too.
But if you think about it, it's almost like a Scream kind of thing, where they're like, alluding that, something else is going on when really it's like right in front of your face. But okay, since we're talking about it again, and I already said it, you have this mom who's out for revenge, right? Which I think it's great that they had the same actress 23 years ago, playing, the same part, right?
It's very cool, yeah.
And she obviously is not happy that Norman Bates is getting out of prison. But you're a parent. I mean, I don't care what kind of plan you have to try to get him sent back to prison. You're going to sacrifice your daughter?
I know.
I mean, and there's a point, I think, where she says, like, don't worry, let's do it one more time, and we'll get the cops right away. You'll be okay. What? Like, there's no way. And she's making her sleep there. Like, she's making her sleep there. I mean, it just that's not gonna happen. What mom's gonna do that? And,
yeah. So just the whole like the fact that she started working in the diner 4 days before. So that's probably like right when he was getting out. Like, there's all these crazy things that Mary puts herself. Oh, and then because while you're watching the movie, you're not thinking that she's involved, right? So I'm like, oh my God, man, nobody likes her. Her boyfriend's cheating on her.
Well, that's why she's hanging out with Norman Bates. That's why she's hanging. Yeah. Right. That's what you're thinking. But we need to discuss this hotel and diner, because the hotel is in the middle of nowhere, like nowhere. but so is the diner. Like when
I
they go to
know.
the diner, it's the middle of the desert. So, and I think that at one point they said, hurry up because it's rush hour now. What rush hour is going to
I
the
know.
diner in the middle of the desert? Like, it's like, is there anything like how far is the diner to the hotel where they're literally both in the middle of the desert, and where's everybody coming from?
You're right. And we know the diner's closer to town because how creepy was it when Mary said she was going to stay with her friend after that first night, and then he's like, "But it's closer for me. It's closer from the hotel to the diner." She's like, "Yeah, but I want to live in downtown." But he's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" He kept it was very pushy, and
Very
he wasn't
pushy.
like into her in like a sexual way at all. He just he didn't want to be alone because when he laid that on her. So we're skipping ahead, but whatever. When they're at the hotel and somehow they go from her staying in the hotel to in the house, and he goes, "What if I told you I need you? I haven't stayed in this place in 23 years." I'm like,
yeah, but she already had creepy vibes at that point. Like even going in. First of all, she just met this guy. Literally, it was almost like
Stranger
half a workday.
danger, yeah.
It really was. And she already seemed like, because he kind of followed her outside, and he now obviously we know the scoop, so she's playing this whole part the whole time. But before you know that, though, he is giving her creepy vibes, yet she's still going along with it. And then again, what's the age difference? I mean, he's got to be close to the mom's age.
Yeah, so it's funny. I bet you, I don't know if he was gray at this point and he was dyeing his hair, but the whole story was that he poisoned his mom when he was 12.
Correct.
So she was a full skeleton. Maybe he was 20. I don't know.
So
how old do you think he's supposed to be? I don't know.
Okay. So we got to mention something that you just said, but if you watch the first movie, he is close to the same age as the sister, the mom, Mrs. Loomis, which, by the way,
yeah.
Any relation to Halloween?
Oh, I know. Maybe that was an homage.
Because I mean, like, of all the names you could say, like, I mean, do you know any Loomises? That's the only other Loomis I know. So, but they have to be around the same age. So you have this grown man who is kind of like is in a weird way, I think, hitting on her, but in a like a needy way. But he's still 30 years older than her. Like it just weird. And again, like the mom's okay with that, but I don't know. I just feel like it's just a weird thing. And then again, the mom is completely okay with all that.
Yeah. But the biggest red flag would be if somebody calls a grilled cheese a toasted, what do you call it? Toasted cheddar?
Okay. Does he only eat sandwiches?
And no, not even that. How about if you went to somebody's house, like if you came to my house and I said, "Jamie, you hungry?" And like you said, "Yeah, sure." And I'd be like, "All right, I'll make you a sandwich." That's weird. What kind of sandwich? It could be anything. The fact that he said, "Do you want a sandwich?" and it was just weird.
Well, it's like my cousin Vinny. I'll have the breakfast. That just says breakfast on there. But listen, you know what? When he came back from the grocery store, he was carrying a bag, and inside the bag, it looked like it was 3 boxes. It looked like 3 boxes of cereal. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, total. One was total, and the other thing was sugar. It was like it was like Sweet and Low was one of them, and I couldn't read the other one. I paused it. It was so grainy.
It was ridiculous. And when you look at his kitchen, it looks like there's nothing in there. Like, it literally looks like there's nothing in there. And we're not even at the house yet. How immaculate looking the house looks after 23 years of no one living there. And it looks so clean. And the fact that who's paying for the electricity for 23 years?
Oh, I know. And the phone worked right away. And I loved, again, at the time, because I didn't know what the twist was, because obviously you wouldn't the first time you watch it. When the note from his mom is under the phone, I'm like, how the hell can that still be there? And then he hears his mom's voice. So in my head, I'm like, oh, he's going crazy already, which would make sense. He's going back to the scene of the crime. But the fact when you really think about it, I love to see like Clue, like the end of Clue, like seeing like her mom, Mary's mom, Miss Loomis,
dropping
like,
everything
around. Like is she in the house right there, or Mary's in the house going, ooh,
Well, that's they were doing. So they would take. It was again. It's almost like a Scream situation where while one was there, the other one was doing something else. So like when he was outside, say with her, the mom would be in the bedroom in the window so you could see her. So like they were obviously working together. I mean, listen, good plan, but I mean, again, like just so weird. Like the fact that he's again going back to the crime scene where he murdered 7 people. And the state is allowing him, one, to go back to business, the same hotel that has peepholes and everything else. He's still allowed to work there. I mean, it's just so ridiculous that they would allow this.
Yeah. I wrote down his job at the diner. He was hired as helper. You're going to be the helper, Norman. Hey, he's going to be your new helper. Not like, he's just like, all right.
No experience whatsoever. He just, I know. And I mean, not for nothing, he showed craziness the first day on the job. Like,
he did.
At that point, don't you say like, all right, you know what? Do me a favor, don't come back. You know?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, he took credit for breaking the thing. Oh, I bumped into her. I broke a plate, and she's like, "It's okay. I've broken 10 plates. I've started 4 days ago." And it's like, how are you working here? Well, I guess because there's no one around to work at this place.
Well, it's the only place to work. There's nothing else around. So everybody, like, if they need a job, they're going to work there because otherwise you're not working.
Yeah, and Franz isn't hiring people to clean the rooms to cut back. So,
and not for nothing, do we ever see more than one person at that hotel? Like, how do they stay in business? There's never more than one. Like in the first movie, it was only Jamie Lee Curtis's mom.
Yeah,
and then in this movie, it was only the couple or the one that he had in his back room, whatever was going on. Like he doesn't have there's never anyone there.
Yeah, there wasn't. There was like some room keys gone, but not like a lot. Because he went to go grab room 1, which I guess that was
that was the peeper.
Jamie Lee Curtis's mom.
That was the peeper. That was the peeper room.
Yeah.
That's why like you saw him hesitant of grabbing it. He's like, oh, maybe I can start peeping again. And then he did choose the other one. And again, that's part of like the likability of Norman Bates. You're like, all right, this guy's really trying to help
trying
himself.
Not to murder.
Trying.
He's a good guy.
Well, I mean, in reality, I only think he kills one person, right? What?
Oh yeah, no, that's really that is what happened.
I mean, so and I mean, in reality, he really was trying. I mean, although that was such an unnecessary kill. I mean, so
I love that. It was
okay.
great.
So going back to something you said earlier about his mom and the full skeleton. So after he poisoned his mom, like, how long do you think he had to wait for her clean bones, for the body to decay enough that he just had a skeleton there? Like, do you think he like peeled everything off and then washed it down? Like, I mean, like if that was, because obviously that's what he needed, because it proved in this movie at the end is he needs that skeleton. He needs that skeleton of his mom, right? So like I wonder, like, what's the process of someone that needs a skeleton to be like, what's the process?
How do you get do you have to get, well, I guess that one acid that they do always lie. I think that melts the bones. You have to get something that's like diet lye that only melts the skin. But I don't know how long it takes. But the fact I love when the sheriff was talking to Mary in the basement. Again, she didn't leave at that point. Yeah. And then the fact that she covered up for him, which will, again, at that point, I'm like, what the fuck? Why is she doing this? This guy's a convicted murderer. But the fact that the guy's like, yeah, you know what Norman used to do down here, right? Kept his mom down here. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, he killed her aunt, and then where's her father?
And her dad.
Okay, so he killed her dad, which was her aunt's boyfriend that became her dad. So the sister, Mrs. Loomis, married her sister's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So the food looks, last thing about the diner is I really like, but the fact that when the food looks so gross and he goes, your job's to read the orders. And it's like, did he go to school? He couldn't read. He was sounding out each word, taking forever. And then how about, it makes sense that he doesn't, how about when he hesitates when he says cutlery? Cutlery. I don't have any knives in this house. What a weird lie. And then she finds one
in seconds. In seconds.
Yeah.
In seconds, and it's like the biggest knife ever. It's like right away.
But now that makes sense because she was a plant to be there. But
No,
there
of
were
course.
so many signs to leave, even when he offered her to stay in the place. And he's like, you can stay. I have a room. I own a hotel. You can take your room.
Okay, let me ask you this. Did he see the knife before she did? Like, did he know?
He
it was
saw
there?
the knife earlier when he first got into.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. And that's the exact same knife he used basically to kill the 7 other people in the first movie. So you have, again, the court system letting him out of his cage to live a normal life. But let's leave the murder weapon that he used to kill 7 people in plain sight. Like, wouldn't you think, like, all right, you know what? Let's clean the house out, like baby-proof it. Get rid of all the knives and anything, any sharp objects, and murder. Yeah, I guess it's psycho-proof it, you know, and that's it. No, they leaving the weapon like in plain sight for this guy. Like it's almost like they were begging him to kill again.
Yeah, only butter knives and sporks, like
Plastic
nothing,
knives.
like
Only plastic, plastic everywhere.
Then it makes sense if he only eats sandwiches because he can't cut much. But all
even in the first movie, that's all he does. He eats sandwiches. That's all he does. Well, like you said, though, he was a kid. So, you know, he's just he's got the mind of a kid. So that's all his, you know, he's so used to having like peanut butter and jelly and bologna sandwiches. And that's, you know, that's all he eats.
But the creepy part that I was mentioning before was when he goes to the girl and she's like, I don't know. I don't think I can afford a room. And he's like, it'll be FOC. And she makes a weird face and he's like, free of charge. I'm like, okay, buddy. Like, you act like you're gonna like give her a room at the Ritz. Like you're giving her a really dumpy room that is probably like has every STD on the sheets. Dennis Franz never cleans, I'm sure.
Okay. The minute it looks so seedy from the outside, and then the minute I see Dennis Franz at the front desk, if you want to call that a front desk, I'm walking right back out and sleeping in my car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, again, because I mean, it really does look like a seedy, crappy, cheesy motel that I really don't think anyone, and which is probably why it's always empty. And maybe that's why he's also painting it to kind of spruce it up a little bit, you know, later in the movie. But I mean, when you see a sleazeball looking at the back, you know, there's no way. Even if I don't know if there's a peephole there, I'm assuming there is one.
Yeah. When you check into those, you gotta make sure. And can you close the peephole? And he's like, what do you mean? Close the peephole. And he's like, okay, close the peephole.
And the peepholes in the movie, they look large. Like they look so obvious. It just so like, ridiculous. Yeah,
you'd see it. You'd be able to tell. But here's a good line that I wrote down when he says, I said one of them earlier when he's like yelling at Norman when Norman fires him and he's walking up. But one, he goes, people I have here have a good time and yours end up dead, you loony.
Again, the way he's antagonizing Norman Bates. Again, this is a psycho killer who's killed 7 people. And you're going to call him a loony? You're going to call you're going to get on his bad side? Like, I mean, what do you think I'm sorry, he does kill 2 people in this movie. Dennis Franz. Doesn't he kill Dennis Franz? He doesn't kill Dennis Franz?
No.
Oh,
no, that's
mother.
Right,
then I didn't. Okay, I got to remember how he dies then. Anyway, so he's antagonizing this guy who just recently. It's not like he's been like, you know, in the real world for a couple of years and he's really established now. He literally just like got dropped off maybe a couple of minutes, like an hour ago. Like, you know, it just got dropped off, so he's still got that prison, you know, like sense to him, and you're not even wasting time just to get under his skin. That's ballsy. I mean, and the fact that you go to his work and start more trouble, like,
oh my God.
I mean, you really are just asking for it.
And that's the next day. So that's the next day. Like after this altercation, then that's at the diner the next day when he's playing like a big dick. And the fact that he assumes that Mary banged this guy that's old enough to be his dad. Hey, how was he? You know, like that psycho. How was the psycho sex?
Yeah, but you know what, though? She played it like she was banging him, the way she responded to him.
Because now, at the time, when you're watching it and you don't know the ending, you think, oh my God, she's really like playing into it. And then you're like, oh, she's playing into it because she knows that'll like rile up Dennis Franz which will rile up, which would mean he's going to antagonize Norman. Because their whole plan made no sense to me, because they wanted him in the loony bin, but at the same time, somehow they were going to get the house. There was that weird line that she said. She's like, and then everything will be ours. And I'm like, how? They're not related. Like, I don't know how that would.
Well, maybe because,
them.
you know, like, I guess there's some kind of like suit against him. If he kills, he gets, you know, I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
Know. Yeah.
Or go for auction. They could buy it or something.
Right. Why would you want to buy it? I mean, your sister just died here, you know, 20 years ago. Why would you want to buy it? You know? Yeah. And
I would buy it for Mother's Room.
Okay. It hasn't been operated in 23 years. Don't you think that like the city would like knock it down and build something else there? I mean, again, this is like, I mean, it's crime scene central. They find out that 7 people were killed here. Like, why are they leaving it open? And how does he still own it? Nothing was paid on it for 23 years.
Yeah. So even if they own the house outright, property taxes, there'd be a lien on the house. So yeah, no, unless Robert Lozier or somebody was paying. Well, the town's such podunk. It was probably like a nickel a year.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I mean, do we actually see the town outside of the diner?
No, we don't see this downtown the girl talks about, which is probably like one little strip.
I was going to say, I don't think it's much of a downtown. You know,
yeah.
It's probably like the town in Troll 2.
Yeah, or it just has a stop sign and that's their downtown. Or it has the traffic light of the town. But I do love that how uneasy, like you said it best earlier, like the way Anthony Perkins plays this role when she goes, oh, what's this room? Oh, that's Mother's room. Here, you're going to stay across the hall. And she just goes in there. And again, at the time, you're like,
I know. You're like, how ballsy is this? Yeah.
Even though she doesn't know that he's a murderer, like,
correct.
To us, it's kind of and he's getting really uneasy. He's like, oh no, we should get out of here. We should get out of here. And I'm like, whoa, dude.
Well, did she, at this point, did she ask him why he was in jail yet? Did he explain that he killed his mom?
No, he didn't say anything.
Okay,
no, she doesn't know anything. He didn't.
Because no one in the diner knew either.
No, he said I was out of town for a while. Yeah,
okay.
That's all he said. I finally got back to town.
She wasn't there when the diner said, you know, he was just released from prison, because the diner knew that he was released.
Yeah,
they didn't know why.
The owner and
the old lady
and his mom. That's his mom.
Okay, you'd have to do the big reveal right now.
Well, we talked about it already.
No, yeah, but no one was like put that together yet if they haven't seen the movie.
Well, the spoiler, but no. So the fact that she is like kind of pushing him and he looks very uneasy, you're like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know, like something bad's gonna happen. But then when she's eventually in her room, it's pretty cool. Like, I don't know if it was just the director, if it was Tom Holland. What was really neat was when she was in the room by herself, she obviously felt uneasy because she wanted to leave 2 times before that, and he convinced her. When she was reading a book and the book was In the Belly of the Beast, which you don't know I didn't know if he was going to be the killer. Or, I assume that because, that's what happened in the other one. And she had the chair turned so he couldn't break in the middle of the night. I'm like, man, dude, that's creepy.
No, again, that's part of what makes the movie good. I mean, there's, like for the first half of the movie, there's like no killings. It's a lot of wonder, like what's going on? Like, is he really talking to himself? Is there someone, like there's just a lot of mystery going on in the first half of the movie. But I do feel like once the first kill happens, then it starts, then it happens a little bit more.
Yeah. But like when I was telling you what time we were going to record tonight, I wrote that note. It was like the many notes in this movie. Dude, I'm telling you, the one that made I didn't know what to think. When it was on the turnstile with all the tickets at the diner.
Yeah. How did no one see him?
Was that the one that said, I get that slut out of my house? Was that what the one was?
Yeah, something like that. So, but like, how did no one... Well, yeah, but I guess no one's paying attention because, I mean, it was during rush hour and there were so many people there and so many orders. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, what's crazy was after the fact, when the ticket wasn't there after he confronted Dennis Franz and said, oh, he put it there. He wanted to rile me up. And it's like...
It fell in the oil. Like, didn't it fall in the oil or something like that? It burned up. That's why he couldn't find it.
I didn't notice that. I was thinking, I thought Mary just swiped it.
No. It fell like in the fryer or something like that, and that's what happened.
when he burned the chef that I guess has burned arms anyway, because he was totally fine about it, because he just
He was
out,
completely
was
fine
talking
about
normal. Hey, just get back here. Just get in the back.
He was screaming at first, and then like 2 seconds later, like nothing.
Yeah.
Like it was a paper cut.
Oh my God, man. And then how about when he comes home and the room is all made up? That's the one that really messed with me, because I'm like, okay, he's really seen this room, his mom's room. And there's another note about get the slut out of the house or I'm going to kill her. But when Mary gets home and then he shows her the room and it's not made up, I'm like, oh my God, that is crazy.
Do you think like the mom and daughter were like, that's why the house is so clean, because they've been taking care of it all this time?
Maybe.
Because that's the only way they're going to make him go crazy. Because again, this is a house that hasn't been lived in 20 years. Now one cobweb.
That's a great point.
There were way more cobwebs in
like
Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Karate Kid 3 in the store that he buys. There was way more cobwebs in that, which was only a couple of years old. Like it literally looked like it's been lived in all this time. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, wonder if they were cleaning it and then setting up the room and everything, just to again make him feel at home real quick.
Yeah, because if not, then Robert Lozier would have put him in downtown. He said, "I can set you up somewhere in downtown." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna stay here." But you're right. Yeah, if it was like so gross, they would have condemned the house, or Lozier maybe wouldn't have left him. I don't know, but
I don't know. It seemed like Lozier really didn't care much. So
he just drove, like, made his peace, and they'd leave. But then right here is where he lets Mary in on everything. He tells her about everything, because
not everything.
Well, not everything, but he does say the line, "I don't kill people anymore," remember? Because she goes, "Oh, I can't believe that you're able to keep your cool." And the way they showed him staring at the knife on the cake, the random cake that was sitting open, like that was kind of weird in a diner. Like, at least put the glass, the glass like surprise thing. But
well, that's what it is. They keep they've showed the knife so many times in this movie, and I think that's part of why the movie was so good, because they show you the temptation. They kept dangling the carrot in front of Norman Bates throughout the whole movie, and you see him like staring at it. You see him like almost wanting to grab it. Like, you see the emotion and the struggle that he had. But he still kept his cool. Like, he still was in control. But at the same time, the audience is like, but is he really in control? Is he really keeping his cool? Is he writing these notes? Is he, calling himself? Which I don't know why they would think he was calling himself, because how did he make the phone ring?
Yeah, that is true. Cell phones weren't around for him to call himself. Like,
right.
That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And then even the peephole. So she goes, we get the 80s rule. We get Meg Tilly's boobs when she's getting peeped on by who we think obviously at the time it's Norman. But
that just shows you, the 60s, they didn't show any nudity, and they basically did a whole scene. Like, they didn't have, so in reality, you don't have to show nudity. Like, you could do the scene could be just as effective if she was behind a fogged out, sliding door or something like that. But once you get to the 80s, it was all about perversion and as much nudity as you could show, because it really is unnecessary. Because the Psychos proved it. There was, they easily could have got, throw some nudity in that scene, when she was showering. And I know if you haven't seen the movie in a while, like the shots when she's getting stabbed, literally her elbow is blocking one thing, her other arm is blocking. Like, it was it was crafted so well that they showed nudity without showing nudity.
Do you know, like, 13-year-old Jamie would be like, "What a dork! What do you mean boobs are unnecessary?"
Wait, I didn't say unnecessary in movies. I'm just saying for this scene, it just shows you the difference between 80s and like how creative in the 60s they were. Now it's like, all right, we don't need creativity. We just need boobs.
Yeah. But the fact that in that part, I'm like, oh, Norman must be watching. Yeah. And it's bizarre. It's really another movie that it's almost like in the vein of like The Game, in the sense of like, I could watch this again, but knowing what's going to happen again, maybe I've done it with The Game and other movies that have like the twist at the end, but this one might be fun to watch again, because you're like, maybe there's other things that you could pick up on. Like,
okay. So wait a second. So But Norman wasn't upstairs at this time. He was downstairs.
Oh no, he
Right?
wasn't peeping. It was obviously
Right.
his real mom, which is crazy.
What? So was it, or was? But she wasn't in the picture yet. Was it? Was
She
it?
was in the picture. She was in the diner.
Well, she was at the
She was
diner,
around-
but why would she be peeping on the girl? Like, the only other one in the house at the time was Meg Tilly's mom.
Yeah, if Meg Tilly's mom was in the house at that time, because a lot
But
of times
we
she
don't
would
know
stay at
because
that
she was
hotel.
right. So that means Meg Tilly's mom was peeping on Meg Tilly.
That's kind of weird.
Well, I don't think it's the mom in the diner because there's no point of her peeping on the door on Meg Tilly. I mean, there's no point of Meg Tilly's mom peeping either.
No, I
but
think the only reason
maybe it was Dennis Franz.
that makes more sense. But then he honks the horn like a few seconds after this. But no,
That's true.
you know why I think it might be the Norman's like real mom, because her whole thing was when she very timidly in a very calm voice revealed like what she did and why she did it. But she probably knew that Mary was up to no good. So that's probably why she was there. She probably
she thought Mary was up to no good in the shower while she's showering. I mean, okay, if that was the case, she could look in the peephole for a second, see, oh, Mary's showering. Okay, she's at this point. There's nothing she can be do that's up to no good. Let me leave. No, the peeper was peeping for a while.
Yeah. No, she was definitely peeping for a little too long. Well, she was in prison for a while, so you never know.
I like how, like, you know, again, the biggest trope, you know, when you this camera zooms in on like a hole, and then all of a sudden you see the eyeball, like right there.
I know.
You know,
Yeah.
and even though you know it's coming, it's still like, you know, like it still kind of gives you that, like, you know, kind of little jump. Or like, oh,
uneasy. That and the keyhole.
Yeah.
When you see somebody peeping in the keyhole. Ugh.
Yeah.
But so this is where Dennis Franz, again, you said it best. He knows that Norman's a murderer. So he goes, even though he's fired, he thinks, hey, here's a great idea. Let me throw rocks at the house. Let me huck rocks at the house, yell, and and then, dude.
I don't see. I don't remember then what happens here. Then I'm drawing a blank on Dennis Franz.
Nothing. All you do is he's yelling at the house. Norman like is looking outside. He doesn't go out. And then you just hear footsteps, really loud footsteps, and you see like the dress, like Norman did in the original. So that's why you're like, okay.
So you're telling me the mom killed him?
Yeah.
But so she's a murderer. Now she becomes a murderer just to get Norman back in the prison?
No, his real mom. Everybody that is wronging him, she's protecting him and killing these people. The way she cut the special effects in the movie are amazing. Dude, his cut on his
I know,
face
his cut in the face
so
was
good.
it was so the special effects, So again, I knew he died. I just thought it was Norman that did it.
No.
See, I'm still trying to figure out his real mom getting him. I wonder if that's true. We need questions from I need
What do you
answers
mean
from
what's
Egan.
true? What are you talking about?
That it was his mom, the old lady from the diner. So you're telling
She's
me
at the end of the movie. What do you mean?
I know that. So you're
she
telling me
reveals it and says, I did it.
Wait a second. Oh, she does say it?
Yes.
I don't.
she says
I don't.
that.
Then I missed that
dude,
too. I don't.
The
I don't
whole
know.
final scene, she sits at the table and
I know that.
explains that I wanted to protect you, though. You know that woman.
Well, I thought she was talking about all those years. Like I don't know. I didn't put it together. So you're
she got out of. She was in prison, I think, the whole time. That because that's why she gave him up.
Yeah, I know that. That I know.
Crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait. So you're telling me between Meg Tilly's mom, and Anthony Perkins' mom, they were kind of doing like a Scooby Doo.
Yep,
by wearing
the
the dress and the wig, they're all in the house, never stepping in front of each other, but somehow it's almost like the Marx Brothers thing. Like, you know, they're all like going in, not knowing the others are doing what the others is doing. Okay, that makes sense.
Actually, yes. No, like 100%.
No, I know,
like,
but it's so dumb. And they all happen to have the mom's one dress and wig. Like they have the exact same wig and the one dress.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, it is. No, it's super ridiculous. Okay. But no, somehow that because it would make sense if Meg Tilly's mom revealed, like Mrs. Loomis, if she said, I had to kill him. He wasn't a good person anyway. Then boom, that makes sense. Hey, let's frame him for murder. Then we can get away. But that was never revealed. And she
I
was
can't
never
believe
there.
I can't
No.
believe I missed this entire plot of the movie. You know,
Yeah.
I literally like, I don't know how I missed it. All right. Anyway, I still think it's a little silly that all three of them have Mrs. Bates' dress and wig,
Well,
and they're running
two
around.
of them share the one that they hide under the stone in the basement. The perfectly crafted, like, hidden compartment in the basement.
Well, isn't that what we've talked about before? The hidden under the floorboard kind of thing.
No, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, in what's it called? Mirror Mirror 3. Wow, 2 references to it. Hey, keep it going. I just gotta plug my laptop in. It's dying.
Okay. So now with all these questions about the mom, I definitely have to see it again because I still can't believe I missed this whole point. I knew the end. I knew that she went to prison. I knew that she was saying that she was protecting him, but I did not put it together that she was dressing up and killing people. Why'd she go into prison in the first place?
She was crazy. I don't know why she went in, but she went to a loony bin like him. So obviously, like, ran in the family that she did it. And I forgot her timeline when she said she got out about the time that he went in to prison. So So when he went in at like whatever 20, she was just getting out. She goes, I heard about it, and it's right when I got out, and I saw you got sentenced, and yeah.
Oh man. So you're telling me
just watch the last scene again.
No, I'm going
it's so
to.
funny how timid she is.
Yeah, I know.
That's what makes it even crazy. Like, yeah.
So do you think that? So is that why was maybe Perkins annoyed at him for doing all this and bringing him back in? Because I mean, like, obviously, up until that point, he was kind of playing the good guy role the whole time. Like, he was really trying to be in control the whole time until that one scene, which was, in a way, comical. What he does, like, it was just so out of the blue, right?
Silly.
But I mean, I wonder if he did it because he's mad at her for kind of bringing him back to being Norman.
Yeah,
by doing
it's making him look like, again, like he already got convicted once for these things that happened in the house. So like 2 times, like the same thing is happening. And one thing I wanted to mention was another thing, talking about crazy timing, that we know it can't be Meg Tilly's mom, is because Meg Tilly's mom called the house. So that was the crazy timing about it. There was that phone call, and it was asking, "Oh, is Mrs. Bates there? Mrs. Bates has been dead. Is this you?" And she's yelled, "To me, right? Is it you?
Yeah.
Is it you, to me?" And then that's what made you think that it was him storming out of the house, but it was like these other footsteps that probably was his real mother.
So weird. now the movie's getting even more weird. I mean, yeah. But again,
definitely weird, but like so good that there's
creative.
That many
it's creative.
things.
No, I agree. I just think that the not crossing paths as Norman Bates' mom is just a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
and then it wasn't when she was done with this shower, right? It was the next one that she found the people, right? Because there was that reflection.
Yeah, the first one was what she took right away. It was the second one, correct?
Yeah. And then that was so weird too, because so that happened. She gets out of the shower, and you're thinking like, oh man, she's gonna be so pissed, because at this point we're thinking like she's just this normal girl, that waitress that needs a place to stay. Why wouldn't she be creeped out? But then when the cops are there, and she like gets very calm, right?
Yeah.
Or what was the cops or Robert Lozier? I think it was the cops. Yeah.
No, it was the cops. It was the cops.
Yeah, came and he had his hand on her back.
Yeah.
He's like super handsy, and she was sort of into it.
Yeah, but they were kind of holding like hands at one point, or like, so I didn't understand their relationship. Like, it was just weird. And after she saw the eyeball, who did she think it was? Did she think it was Norman? But he was downstairs. Like, she knew he was downstairs, right?
No, she didn't know. She didn't know until. Yeah, she didn't know, because she does confront her mom, but not saying, "Oh no." She confronts her mom about it.
Okay.
She says, "Were you looking at me through a peephole?" Yeah, because Norman was downstairs.
So
yeah, just like when
and her
Norman
mom
was locked
says
in
no.
the attic. Like, yeah,
right. And again, yeah, right. So like, but she's still okay staying there with all these like coincidences that don't involve her.
Yeah,
it's like, Norman couldn't have. Okay, now it all makes sense about the mom, because when he was locked in there and she says Norman could, I was just trying to figure out why she kept saying Norman couldn't do it. It was okay. when he was locked
Yeah,
in.
she
So,
locked her in there. She
Yeah.
locked her up there.
correct. So she has
Yeah.
no clue who's doing, what's going on, who's killing, whatever, and she's still okay with that, and she knows it's not Norman, so which means there's another killer out there.
Yeah, she even says to her mom when they meet up in that very nosy front desk
Oh,
clerk at the hotel.
Yeah. Well, when I saw that scene, I'm thinking like, all right, this is gonna be like another ambulance driver thing that I bet you he's the killer.
Oh,
Because
really?
he didn't say 2 words, but you see him in the background, and the camera went on him a few times. It wasn't just like, so it was obvious that they were going to him, and I'm like, why do they keep showing him? I thought he was gonna be involved somehow.
Yeah, no, but we did see him later. He gave a statement at the police station. He was like writing it down.
Right, correct.
Because he was like
Correct.
but that was at that point when she was like, she even said to her mom there, she goes, I think someone else is in the house. And I'm like,
no, and her mom was getting angry at her. Like,
yeah.
So I would be like, why don't you go there? Like, I mean, she's like literally making her daughter again go in this like the most dangerous place possible. So not only that she's in there with a convicted killer of 7 women, no less, whatever. There's another killer in there, and her mom's still setting her back.
Yeah.
Revenge is more important than your daughter's life.
Yeah, only another few days. Oh no, I was wrong. So that was Robert Lozier showed up at that point, and then that's when he gave her. No, the cops. No, the Lozier tips off the cops.
Okay, you're right. No.
Remember, he goes there and is like, yeah. So Norman Bates is living at that house, and like,
yeah, which again, so like it was almost like he was also trying to set up Norman, because like he's talking nice to Norman the whole time, and he's like, but then he's telling the cops like, you realize what's going on over there, or like, so it's almost like he was trying to get Norman in trouble too, like he didn't believe Norman was safe.
Well, I think maybe I don't know if there's any psychiatrists or doctors on here. I wonder if they're held liable. If you were like a psychiatrist and you're like, man, Jamie's fit for society, I've been around all these people and I know that he could be fine. And then it's like, okay, we'll let him out. Next day he murders 75 people. It's like, yeah, doc, you're going to be on the hook for a couple of those.
You might have to take a leave of absence. I think at that point, you got to take a leave of absence.
Yeah, you got to move to Canada and change your name. But there has to be something with that. So maybe that's why. I think because he didn't like. It was funny. He left him at that house, even though he said like, "Oh, this house is like it's going to trigger a lot of things." But then once he said he was going to start fixing up the hotel, then that's when he was like, okay, he's going back into it. I think that's why he warned the cop. And also because an 18-year-old girl was living with him. So,
well, I think that's what it was. Not that he's fixing up the hotel. I think it was because the fact that like when he realized that an 18-year-old was like, first of all, he almost looked at her like, you realize like, it was such an odd thing to say, like, like that he knew. And that should have been a red flag instantly. For any social worker, it's like someone who went to jail for drug abuse, coming home and having a drug dealer live in their house.
Yeah,
the temptation is there. So like, why would that be acceptable to the state? Like I feel like he got released, from the psychiatric center. But there were no restrictions whatsoever. It was like, all right, go ahead. Like he doesn't have an ankle, no ankle bracelet. You can hang out at scene of the crime. You can hang out with 18-year-olds that you normally kill. Like, yeah, do whatever you want. Go back to your normal life, which your normal life is killing. But go ahead, go back to your normal life.
Yeah, no checks and balances on it. But how about when he's painting? Did you like? He's a tall guy. There was no ladder. And it was painted all the way to the way to the roof.
He also there was also no paint on his brush when he started.
I know.
Because he went over the same spot a few times and nothing was coming out.
It was probably like take 73, and he was just like, "I'm not putting the paint back in."
He probably really did paint the house of that many takes, so that's why like the spot he was at is probably But yeah, there was no paint on there. But you know what? Again, that was a kind of a cool scene because that's when he noticed the window.
Oh, dude. So creepy. Yeah. And then I jumped ahead before, but this is when he goes and when he goes to the window and then he notices the room immaculate.
Oh man. Yeah.
And then that's when he sees the note and then Mary comes home and he runs out. And then when they go back in, Oh no,
So-
and the couple's banging in the basement. So that's why they had so much time.
Okay.
Oh, so that's why Mary locked him in there.
Yes.
To move everything back.
I totally forgot about the couple in the basement. So okay. So you're gonna tell me the best
not
place...
only you didn't just forget, the whole town did. So
No.
go on. Because they didn't believe that he got
Yeah,
robbed.
I know. But okay. So you're gonna tell me the best place that you could bring a girl is in a musky, dirty basement. The mattress looked so disgusting that he rolls out, and they were okay with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so... It was like...
Ugh.
I mean, like, you tell me, go to your car. Like, don't people do that in a car? Like, you're gonna roll... Again, it's a used mattress, let alone, like, not even like your own mattress. It's a used mattress in a dirty, musky basement. You got to know the stories of Norman Bates because he killed 7 people in this. It's not like something that's not going to be around. And that's where you bring someone.
Or it's like Freddy's Town. Nobody remembers. And the people buy that house.
This is in all those movies. Like, it's like no one knows what happened in the past. I mean, but this is like the scene of the crime. This is like, like there's no way people don't know or parents didn't tell their children. But you're going to creep in this basement and then it looked like a prison mattress. Like a mattress that if you went to prison, like that, because it was so thin and dirty, that looks like that. If you went to prison, that's the kind of mattress you sleep on.
Yeah.
But
the fact that they were like, and the girl like was the typical like 70s, 80s, like sort of like she'd be like in Meatballs. Like she had that look.
Absolutely.
And they even hear somebody in the basement and they see somebody in the basement. And he takes forever to get out of the basement.
Yeah. It's so ridiculous. Yeah.
And who set that up? So Norman's real mom thought of the idea like, hey, let me put all these logs that'll make it easy to get in, but hard to get out because they'll start rolling.
How is this old lady doing all this? I mean, she's
crazy.
Not, she's okay, but she is an old lady. I mean, like when you see her, she's not young.
And she's really short and frumpy.
Yeah,
that's not tall and skinny.
So
he should have made his mom tall and skinny-ish.
Right, which looks
D.
nothing
Williams
like
or somebody like
his mom. His mom is definitely not the shape and size of the Norman Bates from the first movie. It's a completely different kind of. It's almost like it would be like a spoof movie stunt double for Norman Bates' mom.
Yes,
like that's what she looks like. But the fact that she's this nimble, she's this quiet. Because somehow she's able to get around the entire house and no one hears her ever.
Yeah.
And the fact that like she has enough strength to kill all these people, and not to mention, at one point move a ton of rocks on top of a dead body.
I know.
I mean, again,
that is true. That's the most interesting one. Yeah, the fact that she was able to move all those rocks.
And she had enough time to do it. But the fact that she was able to lift those rocks and pile them so neatly that you can't even see the face at first.
Oh my god! But the fact that again, while you're watching this, you're thinking at this point, this is where I'm like, it's somebody else. Like somebody has to be doing it because Norman was in the attic. He was like sweating. You could tell how frustrated he was when Mary finally opened the door. And he said he was locked, and she goes, "There's no lock on the other side." And in my head, I'm like, okay, that's crazy because then later in the movie, she's like, "I locked it. I know he couldn't get out." I'm like, he doesn't know what a lock looks like. Like, how did she lock the door if he didn't know that if it was a door that can't be locked, how'd she lock it?
No, well, clearly it was locked, but how did he know that there's like, why did he believe her when she said it's his house? You're going to tell me he doesn't know if there's a lock on the door or not?
Oh, that is true. No, that's true. But by looking at it in like 1 second. And this is one of the old houses, like mine. There's like the little notch that you could do.
But he was also
one of those.
Was he curled in a ball?
Oh yeah, dude. He was sitting against the chimney, like curled in a ball. Yeah.
Like he wasn't trying to get out. Like he didn't yell for help or anything, or he just.
No, I think he like tried the door 2 times and then he got tired, or something. But the fact that in that time you have, I guess Mary by herself or Mary and her mom rearranging the room to make it look like the day that, the way it was like earlier in the day. And then also in the house is the mother in the basement.
That's what I'm saying. And no one's making noise. No one hears a scream. No one
Yeah.
hears them trying to escape from the window. Like it's just so like it's so Scooby-Doo-ish. Like no one hears anything what's going on in each scene.
No, and then so the next scene when the sheriff comes, then I'm thinking like, okay, she's
he was
gotta
the
be,
worst
like,
sheriff. He's really the worst sheriff, by the way.
terrible. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. The fact that he's like, yeah, I don't know if I believe her.
Yeah.
We got a girl in the car. She's hysterical, saying that her boyfriend was murdered in the basement here.
He did not believe her for 2 seconds. Like he
At
really
all.
like he went there with an attitude, first of all, and then he's like, he's like not taking it serious. I mean, she literally was screaming, like she was so something obviously happened, and he was just like, yeah, she's probably lying.
Yeah, it's not like this is like the prominent doctor in town who would be shocking if he was a murderer. It's a guy that was a murderer, like
At the place where he murdered people. So it's so why are you shocked that there's actually a murderer there?
yeah. That's like the third box. It's like, okay, murderer, check. The house he murders in, check. Someone murdered? Question mark. I don't know. I don't know if he would have done
That's
that.
impossible. That's
Yeah, but the fact that Mary covers him, I was at this point. I'm like, okay, I know it's not him that's the murderer because he was locked up there. Who's doing it, and why is this random girl covering for him? Yeah, he was with me all day.
Well,
we're walking in the fields. I'm like,
I think at this point she realized that he's been trying. He hasn't killed anyone yet. He's and I think she feels sorry for him, thinking that it's not his fault. It was his mom. And again, he hasn't killed anyone yet. And the fact that he was, I think this is the turn that she makes where she starts really caring about him because he was locked in there and realized he couldn't have done any of this stuff.
Yeah,
and
my notes are so funny. It's so funny whenever we like do this and you go back and you read your notes, like what you're writing and the lines. He says after the sheriff leaves, he goes, "It's starting again," and I'm like, wouldn't that creep her out?
Yeah.
And then I wrote the old lady. She's at the police station, and she's yelling at the sheriff, "Why haven't you arrested him yet?" And this is where the writer Tom Holland, and he directed this too, is at the police station as a deputy. But then the next thing I wrote, what a fucking twist. Jess's mom and her are involved. They won his house, question mark. Jess was the woman in the window. And I'm like that was the craziest like change in a movie. I think that honestly, it was like M. Night Shyamalan was inspired by this, I bet.
Yeah, but you know what though? I think not the ending, but the blame on the kills at the end of the movie, I think was very creative. The way, and I think that was just because again, that makes Norman go free. That releases Norman completely, and to me, it's like that was such a creative way to like this guy's crazy. He's getting crazier, yet the cops think it's something else going on, and that I think that was a good little twist there.
Yeah, and I want to correct myself. Richard Franklin directed this movie. Not a lot of other credits, but he had a great back-to-back. I know the other one I think you liked. His next movie after Psycho 2, Cloak and Dagger.
I haven't seen the Disney movie. Is that a Disney movie?
That's the one with like Dabney Coleman.
Yeah, I know. I think a Disney movie. I never saw it.
Oh, it's the kid from E.T., Henry Thomas.
I think I might have seen it as a kid. It's a Disney movie, I think.
Oh, is it? I don't know. All I know is
I've
always seen the tagline. I've always wanted to watch it. A young boy and his imaginary friend end up on the run while in possession of a top secret spy.
Wait,
gadget.
so Dabney Coleman is the invisible friend?
No, I think Dabney Coleman is the FBI guy, but but you know what? I want a movie where he's the imaginary friend. So I'll watch it. My daughter might like that. So maybe
he was amazing in the 80s. Like first of all, you want to talk about like playing sleazy roles. He always played that. Listen, 9 to 5. Like he was such a
Beverly Hillbillies. He plays a great sleazy dad. Guy
he was. And I don't think you ever seen it, but you ever seen Modern Problems with Chevy Chase?
No.
Oh, so he gets nuclear like waste poured on him, and he gets these like powers. He's like a loser who gets these powers, and Dabney Coleman plays the obnoxious boss as usual, and he's like hitting on Chevy Chase's girl. It's a silly, but it's Chevy Chase, man. It was a good movie. But Dabney Coleman.
Now you check it out. Coleman and Pankin. Pankin. They're great, vicious bosses.
By the way, I just want to say one thing. You do see Dabney Coleman's ass in the movie. Just saying. So if you ever wanted to see what his ass looked like.
Ladies, write it down. A little Dabney booty. Oh my God, Dabney Coleman, that's great. So the twist happens, and then this is where for the rest of the movie, I'm thinking like, oh my God, they must be doing it. But why would
Yeah.
they be doing it? Like,
Yeah.
It was insane. Because I'm like, if they really want a house, are they going to murder? Are they going to do what they are mad at him for in order to get this house? Which just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, but at this point, did you think they were murdering, or do you think Norman was involved at all?
No, because now that after she peeled back the curtain on everything and she said he couldn't have done that, I locked him in the attic.
Then
That's when I was like,
who do you think did it then? Did you think it was a mom? Do you think
I thought it was one.
Mary's
I thought it was
mom?
one of. Oh yeah, no, I thought it was definitely the mom because we knew it wasn't her unless that would have been a super twist. The fact that she was so like, oh my God, mom, why did you do that? And she was doing it, then that would have been like something that was like so off the wall. But how about like the blood in the toilet with the rag that was used to clean up in the basement? So like that made no sense to me. Like obviously she confronted her mom.
Yeah.
So the writing in this movie, like Tom Holland did a phenomenal job because at this point, now that we know the two that are involved and maybe there's someone else actually doing it, this rag in the toilet, okay, a murder just happened in the basement that was cleaned up perfectly. Is this the rag? Like,
okay. And no stains at all. Like, I mean, like they had enough time to scrub the floor with one rag, mind you. You know, it was one rag, you know, and not a drop of blood anywhere. Like it was just so, and it was upstairs, right? Upstairs bathroom.
Yeah, it was the upstairs bathroom. Yeah.
So they happened to no, the blood's not dripping anywhere. So they're cleaning up a messy murder, blood everywhere, in the basement, dragging this, then taking the rag that's filled with blood, you know, upstairs, no dripping everywhere, and then throwing it in the toilet. Of all places to put it, you put it in the toilet bowl.
Well, we know
it's a big house.
Yeah, no, but we know what really happened. I don't think it was real blood unless the mom, because the mom ended up admitting to doing that.
I know. But what
so
purpose,
I don't know how
though?
she did it.
Just to show,
to make him think he's crazy. Because even at this point, because it worked. What did he say in the next part? I committed the murder. I murdered. Yeah. I must have murdered that boy. And she's like, "No, you couldn't have done that. I know you couldn't have."
So
she didn't admit to why.
No, I know. But at this point, though, it almost seemed like she was going against her mom and siding with Norman. Like I almost felt like she was ready to like throw her mom under the bus to protect Norman.
Yeah. That's insane.
Like, I don't think, as much as she might not agree with it, you're really going to sacrifice your mom. Although the mom did sacrifice the daughter the whole movie. So
yeah, she really did. Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Which, you know what? Maybe that's why she bonded so well with Norman, because Norman had a terrible mom. And clearly, you know, Meg Tilly has a terrible mom. So she understands.
Was Norman's mom bad?
He killed her at 12. She must have been bad.
Oh, is that wait? Oh, wait. All murderers just murder bad people?
No, but a 12-year-old. What's going to turn a 12-year-old into a murderer? I mean, I don't think that murderers are born. So he clearly, you know, was not getting the nurturing he should have at 12. Does he ever talk about why he killed his mom?
No, I don't know. But were you watching the Menendez trial in the early 90s? You're like, yeah, it was that. This guy was a dick.
Excuse me. They were in their 20s. This is a 12-year-old. A little different. And let me tell you, if his mom, if the way he mimics his mom, if that's how she really sounded, because again, if the way he's mimicking his mom is the way he remembers his mom. So how demanding his mom is, how degrading his mom is, the annoying voice. So that's probably how she was when he was younger. I'm sure when you watch part 4, you'll see some craziness from the mom.
Yeah, maybe just only sandwiches and milk. That's it. That's all they ate, sandwiches. Nothing was ever cooked in a pan or like in the oven. The oven was never used. Just the one burner for the.
What was that
cheese.
thing on the counter? It was like an old, like, it looked like it was part of like an old time train. It was like a big metal cylinder.
No, I didn't see it.
You know what I'm talking about?
No,
you
I
had
didn't
to have
see
seen it. Oh, you had to. It was like a little. It was like I don't know if it was like a tea, like produced coffee or tea, but like it was so old timey looking.
Was it an old big percolator? Maybe it was an old percolator.
It was copper. It was like that big copper thing that was on, and I don't know. All right,
I'll have to go back and check it out. But Yeah, so then this is the part that Jess is cleaning the floor and she pulls out the gun. So she has that little tiny gun and somebody's looking at her again and she
Yep.
knows it's not Norman, which again, this is like now it's even crazier because the first time we're like, oh, it's Norman peeping. Even though
Right.
when they did that cut with with Franz honking the horn, we see him downstairs, so it can't be him. But this is like, okay, who's this other person? Like, is the mom really shouldn't be peeping on her own daughter? Like,
Right.
that makes zero sense. So who is it?
Yeah, no, and that's what makes it like it again. This is, and again, I was lost most of the movie anyway, so like it makes it like, what is going on? And again, I still thought maybe Norman was doing something. I wasn't. It was just it was confusing enough to make it mysterious enough.
Yeah. And then how about like, okay, if you think you're in a house because he hears his mom again, and which again, is that who is that? Is that his real mom making the sounds, or is that Mrs. Loomis? Like,
Well, he doesn't know his real mom.
No, he doesn't know his real mom. But I'm saying, so that must have been Mrs. Loomis trying to make him go even crazier, like just making Norman.
Yeah, why would his real mom do that?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, no, yeah, that's true. But that means she was looking at her own daughter,
or he's
They're
just
both
hearing that in his. I thought a lot of times he's hearing it in his head.
Oh, that could be the case.
You know, like, I mean, like, so, but that's what it is. Like, I didn't know, like, even the phone calls, I honestly didn't know the mom and Meg Tilly were doing that. I thought he was just picking up the phone. I knew someone was calling him, but half the time I just thought he was just talking to himself.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, me too. Because when she took the phone, there was no voice on the other end.
There was no voice on the other end, and he was totally ignoring what she was saying to him. He was having his own conversation with his mom. Like,
yeah,
'cause
well,
even
that was like kind of weird acting because it was like he was talking too much. There was like no conversation.
No, it was,
happening.
but you know what though? But it also had a creep factor to it because he goes, no,
Oh, yeah.
like, I think it was in the beginning of the movie. She's like, no, mom, I'm not going to kill her. I'm not going to do that. Like, he was like saying these things. So like, and you know, imagine like, you know, you're in a room with someone, you know, there's no one on the other end. And they're talking to nobody, talking about how the person on the other end who's not really there wants you to kill someone that's in front of you.
Yeah, no, I know. They're like ridiculous. But the fact that they think somebody else in the house and they're like, hey, let's just stay in this tiny room. And he goes, I'll keep watch. And he's holding the knife, double hands, like he's getting ready to stab her right in the chest. And he's looking crazy and hovering over her. And he goes, and a line I had to write down. You smell good. Like the toasted cheese sandwiches my mother would bring me when I had a temperature. Like what an old timey sentence. Like that would be like trying to tell a kid nowadays, like explain like a VHS or like a laser disc. Like the fact that just like toasted cheese and when I had a temperature.
But you smell good, you know, like and right before that, she's like, Norman, what are you doing? Like that was like the stuff, you know, and then again, I wrote that down. I mean, like of all the things that, but again, he's a kid. So to him,
yes.
As a kid, what smells good? Toasted cheese sandwich.
Which I never heard anybody say that. I think that's a British thing.
Could be.
Toasted, or I guess Tom Holland ate toasted cheese sandwich. Maybe that's like a regional thing. I don't know where he's from. But
maybe it's a psychotic thing. Maybe that's part of the, you know, what they eat. So
that's the test, like the Rorschach. Instead, they just pull out like a grilled cheese and they say, "What do you call this?" Toasted cheese. Lock him up. Lock him up. But so in the morning, Robert Loggia shows up, and this is where I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna get even crazier," because now Loggia is telling him, "Hey, you know that girl that's been staying with her?
Yeah,
that's Mrs. Loomis's daughter," and he's very calm about it. I'm like, wouldn't you think this person that's like really, but the first person
is going to put him over the edge? Yeah, yes. Correct.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem to faze him. Like he really doesn't seem fazed by it. Like he doesn't seem annoyed at her,
which is shocking. And he even says like they're here to mess with you because they want you to go back.
Correct.
They want you to get committed again, and you're like, okay, yeah, he's fine.
But Robert Loggia also was telling the police about Norman's behavior, kind of thing. So like what side is Robert Loggia on?
decide that I think a liability. I really think that in his head, he is like feels like he's going to be liable if something happens. Because even here, this is when Norman goes, "My mom is alive," and they're
So
like,
you think
"What?"
so you think he's doing everything possible on both sides to make sure nothing happens?
I really honestly believe that. Like, I don't know
Okay.
why he wouldn't go to the cops right
Yeah.
away and say like, "Hey, man."
But he did. He
Mary
did
and
go to the
Mrs.
cops.
Loomis.
Oh,
No, about
yeah.
him, but he didn't say
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Oh, Mary
yeah.
Loomis is like being
Yeah.
shady and staying at this hotel in town and sneaking in your house and putting on the outfit." The cop found that out somehow. I don't know how he found it out. Because the sheriff told Loja. I don't know how.
Because there's only 5 people in town.
That is true, yeah.
So I'm
One
sure it's not
person
difficult.
Oh my god, man. So how about like exhuming the body?
Ugh.
So it's like Norman believed he was talking to Norma Bates. Like that's who he thought he was talking to, which is even crazier that the body was exhumed and he still believed he was talking to his mom after that.
Okay. Then who was the skeleton in the first movie?
Oh, that is the same. It's the same skeleton. They reburied the body. He stole the body after she was buried when he was 12.
So you think they're going to waste their time reburying the body after?
The family could have requested.
What family? What family? It's Norman Bates.
There's got to be a master.
They're not going to waste time burying, digging up the body. It's a pile of bones. They're just going to break it down and throw it in a garbage bag and just throw it away. I don't think they're going to rebury the bones.
I don't know. Maybe you didn't catch that, but I hope the listeners did. I said master.
Okay. But I think again, first of all, even if there was family, they are assuming the body's already buried. So why even put the body down here in the first place?
Oh, you mean save time and just like throw the bones in the dump?
That's what I'm saying. Like they wouldn't. Like I don't think they would rebury it because I don't think anyone really cares about those bones at that point. That body. Or they, they could have easily donated it to like science class in high school if there was a high school in that town.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be really funny.
Where the two kids that live in town go to school.
Yeah. The science class has the little thing in the thing, and Norman is trying to like go back to school.
And she's wearing like she has the wig on and the dress in the science lab.
Yeah. Yeah. And this doesn't really help. Aren't we supposed to be able to see the bones? I don't know. He always sneaks in at night and puts a dress on his mom. Doesn't want her showing everything. But yeah, it was so bizarre that they exhumed the body, and then he's like, "Oh no, I still believe that she's alive." Oh my
do you think dude. So? Do you think he did not believe that was his mom down there? Like, what is he thinking at this point when he sees the body? Like, what is he thinking?
Well, he's thinking, I guess, maybe at the time for a second, Loja says, "Can you say back to me that that's my mom and I can't be talking to her?" And he like repeats whatever mantra back to him. But then as soon as he gets home, phone rings, he talks to his mom again. And then right after this is when he reveals to Jess that, "Hey, I know."
This is where you start seeing a little crazy coming out of him. Like this is the start
and
of
her.
crazy.
What does she do? He's on the phone, won't hanging up.
Yeah.
She goes outside, goes into the basement, puts the outfit on, and says, "Put that phone down." And she has the.
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's panic. So because she sees the crazy in him right now. She knows that he knows, and the fact that like he's like now calm about it, and he kind of confronted her. There's panic in her right now. She's like, all right, it's almost like it's like Friday the 13th part 1 or no 2. Yeah. When they put on the mom's whatever, pretending to be Jason's mom.
Oh yeah.
This is what they're trying to do, but he's not falling for it.
Well, it seems like she's not even trying because she doesn't change her voice, nothing. Like in order to pretend to be mother, she's just holding the knife, wearing the wig, and then knock, knock, knock. The cops are there and they say, "Hey Norman, we want you to go down to the swamp." Like
that's what I think is great is when the cops show up and you see Meg in the dress and the knife. Like again, because clearly like she didn't do anything wrong, but they think they could pin it on her and Norman gets away scot-free.
Oh my. Yeah.
That's a good again, it's a good twist that it's not really a twist, but it's a good way to, again, just in a way, I guess it is kind of a twist. Like, you're thinking like somehow how are they going to put it on Norman, and like he looks so innocent, when he literally the crazy was about to turn on.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. No, that whole dude, that scene's unreal. Like when she gets shot, and she's not even really trying.
Doesn't she stab him like 10 times? She stabs Norman like multiple times.
Oh, well, that's when she's thinking that it's him doing the murders because she sees her mom's face. So yeah, no, it's justified by the cops because they see him all bloodied up.
Correct.
The knife went through his hand, man. Oh my god.
Let's be honest though. He didn't flinch once. The amount of times he got stabbed, and when they showed him getting stabbed in the head, I think multiple times in the hand, like different hands, like his chest, like he kept talking to her, like he didn't even like his voice didn't crack, like he was just talking normal as he's getting stabbed. That's how you know that you're like crazy when you can get stabbed multiple times and it really doesn't affect you.
And be super cool the whole time.
And be super cool about it. Yeah.
And at this point, Miss Loomis, she's calling the house, and we see that it's her. And then that's when Loja follows her because she goes to the house.
Yep.
And then, dude, this is like one of the greatest. Like, honestly, there's so many kills that people talk about, like when you see like the best kills ever. How is this not top 10? It looks so good when you see the knife go into the mouth. Yeah. It like looks like
I think it is a top 10 because this is such a
I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
It should be because it is up there with any of the Jason kills. No.
So good. Just seeing that
really
she's going to put the dress on and she looks over and then just like and it just happens so quick. The giant knife goes through the back of the head. So, oh my God, so good.
Yeah. And you know what's cool about it is, again, this is a woman who's been acting forever, like, this actress, and to get a kill like that, in an older age after making these black and white movies and everything else, I think is very cool. Like, for at least for her, like you would never expect probably. I mean, again, I don't know if she was in all serious movies or, horror movies, but like, I'm sure she was in a lot of like classic black and white movies. She's probably a big time famous actress back in the day, and to get killed like that, that's crazy.
Yeah, like a real like special effects, like when special effects really kicked in for horror. Yeah,
and it looked good. It looked real good.
Creepy.
Yeah.
And Loja is in the house. He's talking to Norman, and that's when Norman tells him like, "My mom's calling." But Norman, I took you to the. We took care of the body you saw, and he goes, "Oh, but my real mom's calling." Then you're like, "Okay, what's that mean?" Like at that point, I didn't think that, but after watching the movie, then you're like, "Oh, real mom!" Like I wrote that down, so I'm like, "Ooh, okay."
So then I missed it. How did he know his real mom was?
Well, maybe she just said that. I'm your
just
real
said it
mom.
on the phone. You mean on the phone? Like okay,
because we didn't hear the other end of the conversation, but that's what he was saying to us.
Okay, okay.
But Loja at this point found the rock.
Yep.
So Norman's real mom cleaned up pretty quick because Loja was downstairs in that same area.
Yep.
And that's when we saw her face. So he followed her to the hotel. He was telling her she is old. You're telling me she was able, and I know he's old, but like she outran Loja into the house.
How did he
murdered?
Yeah.
And was put under a bunch of like coal.
How did he not get there fast enough? Like, I mean, yeah. I said the same thing.
No, crazy. So meanwhile, Norman is back. I don't think he was there when they found the car. They just told him like, we're looking in the swamp. So they pull out his car. Dennis Franz's dead body's in the trunk. So Jess runs back because she was there waiting. Does she think her mom did that? Because she runs back and says, "Norman, you have to run." And I'm like, what?
I think at this point, again, she still doesn't know. Like I don't think she understood. I don't think she understood. Again, I think she's just as confused and just. I don't know. I don't because I can't. I'm thinking she was throwing her mom under the bus again, but again, I can't see her doing that. So I don't know what she's thinking and who's doing it.
Yeah, one of her lines that she says when she's like, "You're crazy, Norman. You're as mad as a hatter." Okay. Like Jess is like 18, 19. They tell he's
Yeah.
talking like she's like 70 years old. But
Yeah.
and then Loja reveals to him, hey, I can tell you the phone calls that you've been receiving that you claim as your mother have been coming from right here. And then you're like, oh my God, that's gotta be, Mrs. Loomis making these phone calls because that makes sense.
Right.
Crazy, man.
No, I think so twisty. All this like from like that the last 10 minutes. I think it was just really well done.
And then this is where she puts on the dress. This is where she's in the dress. Is it the only time she wears the dress? Or the second time, right?
Well, no, she's worn it a few times. She was in the window because her mom.
No, I know,
that.
but that we knew it was definitely her.
Yes, correct,
Okay.
correct.
But man, Norman's not buying it, and then he looks at her. Oh, this is when he says the line that you mentioned before, like, "No, mother, I'm not going to kill her." That's when she runs upstairs.
Well, I was saying that's what. So I think we jumped ahead, and now we're going back to the same spot.
Yeah.
So I think this is where the panic, because she's panicking now at this point, and like I said, she picks up the phone. She doesn't disguise her voice at all, and she's yelling at him, but he's literally ignoring everything she's saying and still talking to himself.
Yeah. And this is where she's in the bathroom and she feels someone in the other room. She goes, she moves the picture, and then that's when Loja comes in and she stabs him in the chest. And then
by accident. That was an accident, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But the best was that she was an accident, and then just the way he was like so obviously in shock. And he falls over the ledge, and then the knife goes like deeper into him, and then he just lands on the ground. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So good.
And again, so like, you're talking about this one girl who literally she was a good person most of the. I mean, yes, she started off, being bad and like, kind of teasing Norman, but then she started caring about him, taking care of him, and all this crap is happening to her, like innocently. And now she's murdered someone by accident, but like, and this whole ending with the cops and everything with her, and it's just crazy how like it just everything falls right on top of her.
Yeah. No, you know what it kind of reminds me of? The ending from Sorority House Massacre 2. I'm sure it's a thing that's been done so many times. When you have the people that die, like that aren't really the killers.
Yeah.
Obviously in this case, if Norman wasn't the killer, but just the fact that like in history of this town, it'll be like, oh, that Jess girl and her crazy mom, like Jess killed her own mom, right? When eventually they're gonna find that body. Like I guess
excuse me, they didn't know about Norman Bates for 23 years. You think they're gonna remember Jessica killing her mom?
That's true. Maybe better records in 83 versus 16.
You think anyone's missing Dennis Franz?
Maybe all those sleazebags that like to rent it they like to rent it for an hour to do their drugs and be on their way.
We've covered a lot of movies in these couple of years, and we've come across a lot of sleazy people. He is easily a top 3, I think. So, I mean, offhand, I don't know if I could recall too many sleazy ones. Maybe the sleazy one from Mirror Mirror. That guy was a little, the greaseball kind of guy. But I mean, like Dennis Franz is definitely in the top 3 Hall of Fame, right?
No, he's really he's definitely super sleazy. But so just how crazy that scene was when you said earlier, like she's like stabbing him like he's a pincushion, and then when the cops show up and they see Mary with the knife and then they shoot her, you're like, whoa, this is crazy.
That's what I'm talking about. Like such a good ending. Like like the crazy guy gets off scot-free. Because of like circumstance of what was going on. And like, it was just like, obviously a misunderstanding for a lot of it. And it was, that's very, very creative. I think the way they did that.
Like at this point, if Tom Holland wrote this movie and he had like, if he was doing it by storyboarding, which I'm sure he did, but I'm saying like when you get to the end part, there's so many options right now. Like really twist wise, it could be just that Norman's a killer. And then we'd be like, holy shit, he really was all these things this whole time.
You know what, though? I don't think they needed that. I think the way it ended, it could have been like, either, Norman going home now after the cops leave because they got, the wrong killer or whatever. Yeah. And then Norman gets a call from his mom. And then it could have ended like that. Like, and I thought it was gonna end something like that. Like the way it ended, I did not expect. Obviously,
I love that, yeah.
I mean, and again, it's very funny. I think it's a very funny how casual he was when he did it. But
Yeah.
like, I think literally the movie could have ended with him, sitting in his chair and gets the phone ringing out of the blue. Like, who's calling right now, and who is he talking to? And then that could have been the end. And that would have worked. I think that totally would have worked.
That could have set up a whole new movie. And then,
that's what I mean.
Then the show still would have been the question mark of who did those killings, because we knew that they wouldn't do it. But
yeah, but you know what though? At the same time, I guarantee you watch this for the first time, and you get to a point, you just saw this ending, and then Norman sits in his chair, and the phone rings, and he answers it. I don't think you're thinking about the other killings at this point. You're just like, Norman's crazy, and he's talking to his mom again. Like, I think like people would forget, I don't think, because I guess it's a minor detail when it comes to Norman answering the phone, because there's no one calling at this point. The people that were calling are gone. So who's calling now? Or is it in his head?
That's true. No, I know but I think what's so cool about the ending is the fact, like, you're right, how casual he is when he is like making the sandwich and someone's at the back door, and it's like, oh, it's that
sandwich again, by the way, another sandwich.
That's all he eats, man. That's all he eats.
And you know what? In the first movie, it's all he offered her a sandwich also. When he goes to her motel room, and he goes, can you join me for dinner tonight? Is what he said in the first movie. He goes, can you join me for dinner tonight? And she goes, okay, because she's there alone. And literally, his dinner is a sandwich.
God, could you imagine that if you invited a girl on a date and you went to like Subway?
Yeah. Well, not even Subway. These are like not even toasted. It's like
Yeah.
and it looks like there's no meat in there. It looks like it's like
there
one
was
slice
like
of bologna, one slice of bologna, and two slices of white bread.
Yeah.
But the fact that the mom is like talking to him and confessing everything, and she's eating the sandwich, and he's walking around with a shovel. and I think, what does he ask her before he swings? Like he says something to her.
Yeah, no. So what I wrote down, because the poison, we see him grab the poison, and he gives her, do you want some tea? And she's like, oh, I'd love some tea. And then that right after she got the tea is when she started, like, at the same time.
Yeah, yes.
She was talking about it, and then there was like sort of a reveal that she killed everyone.
Yep.
And he said, you sure you won't have a sandwich? And then that's when he shoveled her in the back of the head.
And you know what? They showed that poison in the beginning of the movie a few times too. Like he reached for it and then didn't go for it. So that's clearly something that he's been working on. But the way he swings that shovel and the way it looked, and again, the way he was just so calm talking to her, I actually laughed. I was shocked.
Oh,
like,
I know.
That
it's
happened.
Crazy.
But then I also laughed, like, this is such a silly kind of kill. And then the rest of it, like the way he's carrying her upstairs, like the dead body upstairs, like that his mom is home again, like, just crazy. Like it was a good ending.
And
so I
shook,
wonder,
like, a little bit, like after the shovel at her, and that she like shook a little bit.
But it looked real too. I mean, like she literally was sitting there. And when I was watching it again, like I'm like, all right, is there like a stunt double or like no? And like it looked like he really hit her. Like it was good camera work there.
Yeah. And then I love the mom's voice. Put me in the window so I can watch you. And then that final shot, and him walking outside and stopping at the top of the steps before he goes down to the hotel. That's like, I gotta get that on a poster or something. So
I may have to watch the third one. I think I'm curious. I wonder if it's as good as this and like just where it leads to. I mean, I know, like I read the synopsis that I think a nun or a nun that's leaving the convent stays there, and I don't know if they have a kid or I don't know. Like obviously I think it's good. Yeah, I know. I think it's getting
Norman
to the weirdness,
but
I don't know. I just know the nun is there or something about a nun. That's so yeah. I don't know, but yeah. You definitely need like the box cover in the background there. Maybe get rid of the SpongeBob thing and throw Psycho up there.
SpongeBob, that's one of our first guests, buddy. That's Ed and Eddie, man. That's Matt Hill. One of our first interviews, and then he mailed that out to me.
All right, but that was 3 years ago. Let's get Psycho up there.
I'll pop it in. If I get it, I would love to find a VHS of it. But so that was Psycho 2. Jamie?
Oh, yeah, you don't have to ask. I mean, it was a very well done. And I think, he does such a good job of a conflicted character of nice guy to psycho. And like I said, like you actually one, you feel bad for him, and two, you're actually rooting for him. Like there's so many other evil people in this movie that he looks like the sane one. And I just think, I think it's Psycho is such an iconic, like, I mean, if you, I mean, I know, we can do a top 10 movie and everything else, but if you take a top 10 horror movie, this is easily a top 10, if not top 5. And to follow it up with a worthy sequel, let alone 23 years later, I think they did a great job.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think just the fact that there's so many things that keep you on the edge of your seat. Like, what's really happening? Like, there's no, like, obviously the original was great at that. That's why it's like one of the best ever. But like in an era of like, again, like you said, 23 years later, hey, let's try to do this movie. Same actor, sort of obviously the same timeline, but like, hey, let's try to do something different. And Tom Holland really,
he did
one of the most unique things ever.
Yeah, I agree. And again, you said it early on that, Anthony Perkins does such a great job in this role in both movies. Yet you can't name another movie he was in. And like, I wonder why, like, he wasn't bigger than he was. Like, he was obviously young in the first Psycho. So you would think like this is going to be his takeoff. Like he does such a great job in this movie. And you know what? You really don't. I mean, I'm going to look at his IMDb and just see if
I'm looking at it right now. You know what's funny? Whenever you think of actors, you look at the known for right on the top. Yeah. It's just the Psycho movies. But when you look at it, he's really, I couldn't even tell. None of the other movies that he was in.
Isn't that strange though? Like, I mean, like you said, he's a leading character. I think Vivian, what was her name? Vivian, no, what's her name? The one that died in the first movie. She was a famous actress. Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. Like you have, I think the woman in Mrs. Loomis was a famous actress at the time. So he's in this movie with famous people. He's in an Alfred Hitchcock movie, and he holds his own. Like he owns that movie, and no one else wanted to use him. Like there must be some kind of backstory. Like he's a tyrant, behind the scenes, and like no one wanted to work with him. Like he's not really playing Norman Bates. That's how he really is. It's something like because I mean it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, even like it's weird that in a lot of the movies I've never heard of, and I feel like he did a lot of Europe movies. He was in, I don't know, man. Some of these movies I'm like looking at the names of them, but I'm like, I don't know if that's a movie I've seen before. Like the one I just clicked on and never heard of. He was in Catch-22. That's an Alan Arkin movie and Marty Balsam.
Was that a war movie? Was that a war movie? No.
Yeah, 1970. Art Garfunkel. Fourth build? What?
Okay, well, you know what?
Bob Newhart?
Maybe that's why he's not acting. I mean, he's in a movie with Art Garfunkel.
Yeah. Well, good cast. Buck Henry, Bob Newhart, Anthony Perkins.
Is it a comedy? It's got to be a comedy.
Sheen, John Voight, Orson Welles,
really?
Charles Grodin, Austin Pendleton, and Peter Bonners. Oh my God.
So they clearly they're putting him in movies with big people. How is he not more famous?
Wow, I can't believe the name. I can't believe the people that were just in that movie. Yeah. That's pretty wild to see that many people. But no, you're right. But definitely, you got to watch this movie, and then we'll definitely try to cover the third one because I think it's hard to beat this.
I want to see. To me, my guess is the third one goes completely off the rails and is like, it's going to be dumb.
And then that's why they probably did a prequel.
Correct. And that's what I get. And and again, because they had no other ideas what to do. I mean, at this point, you got the 3 movies in a row of him living at the hotel. At a certain point, something has to give. So, but I would like to see how absurd it is. So I definitely would be worth watching. And then I'd be curious how much they butcher the prequel. Like how, I'd be like, because again, if it's the prequel, it's gonna be a young kid probably. So, he's probably not even in the movie. And if he is in the movie, it's not gonna be a lot. I don't know. I'd be curious to see if we could do both of them.
No, we'll definitely try them.
So I'm not going to watch them until I find out. So I'll have to start reaching out.
Yeah, pretty soon. Well, I think they're gonna.
I think
they met on Monday.
My guess is the people that are in Psycho 3 and Psycho 4 don't care about the strike, and they will not talk to anybody.
No, you're right. No, you're probably right. So
I'll see what I can do.
Start doing that. So
I will.
Yeah, so that was Psycho 2, and then next week is a Friday the 13th. obviously with everything going on, like we've been mentioning, with all these special bonus episodes we've been doing, like special reviewing like movies like Sinbad and other ones that we've always wanted to, but we just never could, get a hold of somebody that worked on them to keep with our formula. Friday the 13th, we got to cover one, and we've covered a lot so far. We covered 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. We've covered Freddy. So we covered so many, but we're covering the one that I always talk about because one of my favorite Jasons is Zombie Jason. And this was the one that really kickstarted that 3 movies that were my favorite, not mentioning Jason Goes to Hell and Jason Lives. This movie has, another one of them that has a really good cast, and some great kills, and some funny, silly scenes like the paintball scene and the arm ripping off, and the camp. The kids are at the camp. This is the last one that involves the camp. Really, 7. There's no camp. It's really just people drinking at a house near the water. 8 is in Manhattan on a cruise ship, and that's really it.
How many more do we have left besides 2 and 7?
2 and 3. Well, we did 7. So 2, 3, and 2009 is all we have left.
Okay.
We've
I never saw the 2009 one.
This is our 8th one.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's
well, this is also the one that I watched by accident.
Yeah.
So I did watch it recently.
Very cool. But so you have that to look forward to, and we'll be sure to share all of our other interviews because we've talked to now like so many people, obviously one for each franchise, and then other people we talked to for other movies that just so happen, especially Jason Takes Manhattan. I've talked to like 4 or 5 people that worked on that, which is so cool because that's one that's like near and dear to my heart. I watched it a ton when I was oogling Rhonda Shear on USA Up All Night. So so that'll be fun next week. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.